What's going on, Flat 6 Nation? If this is your first time here, I'm Henry, one of your FSM guys, and today I want to talk about Infiniti, in particular the Infiniti Q50, even more particular, my Infiniti Q50 Red Sport. But before we get started, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so we can continue to notify you whenever we get new episodes. Remember, we want to get more subscribers on our channel with a goal of 1,000 by July 1st. And with that said, let's go.
You're watching Flat 6 Media Car Reviews, where you come to watch the Flat 6 Media guys give you all the information you need on the cars you want.
We do car reviews, events, products, and give you our take on everything. So please click subscribe and hit that bell so you can stay up to date with our latest episodes. So newsflash, guys, I am back in an Infiniti Q50, but this time it's an Infiniti Q50 Red Sport 400 that happens to be white. And this is actually my second Q50. I used to have one 3 or so years ago. I had a base model Infiniti Q50, drove that lease for a little bit, and now I'm back in a newer, faster, more capable Infiniti. Before I get into that, let me give you just a slight bit of history on the Q50, and even before that, the G sedan. So once upon a time, let's say about the early 2000s, Infiniti sold what was called the G sedan. They had one as a sedan and then another one that was a coupe. In particular, one of the more popular ones was the G37 coupe. Now, after the G37 had its incredibly successful run, Infiniti needed a new direction, and they went with what we now know as the Q50. Now, the Q50 is actually the culmination of two concept cars. So the first concept was the Infiniti Essence, and that car was incredibly curvy with very deep body lines, and it actually set the stage for the design note that Infiniti was going to pursue. The second concept was the Infiniti Ethera, which was kind of funky looking, and it's definitely the vehicle that the popular headlights that we have today come from. As you can see, they're a little bit humanoid. It actually looks really good on this build. When the Q50 came out, it was a sexy, gorgeous looking car. It grabbed people's attention. It came with the right amount of power, the right amount of tech, and at the right time. And it just happens to coincide with a younger, just getting going in his career, FSM guy, who was looking for a more luxurious yet powerful, yet not over-the-top vehicle, and the Q50 did that for me. Now, while I looked at Acuras, I looked at Lexus, I even looked at BMW, the price point for a lot of those cars were just higher than what I was willing to give up. But Infiniti offered a good deal. And so back in 2015, I got into a base model, an all-wheel drive Infiniti Q50. Now, the V6 that my 2015 Q50 came with produced 333 horsepower and about 269 pound-feet of torque. And with all of that power, what it really became was a gateway drug for my exploration into more capable, faster vehicles. Now, as time progresses, our lives change, our tastes change, our definition of values change, and so do our experiences. And my experiences with cars started to expand a ton, from driving multiple BMWs to other friends' Acuras. I decided that maybe the Infiniti Q50 was no longer the right fit. And if that didn't do it for me, it might so happen that once upon a time, myself and another FSM guy that you may know, we had a sprightly gentleman's race. And I mistakenly thought that in my Infiniti Q50, I would be able to take down his supercharged Audi A6 that was several years older. And needless to say, I was all kinds of wrong.
Got him!
Now, you would think that after learning that lesson and being beat out by a much older car, that Henry would just go with a different brand like Audi or BMW. But instead, alas, here I am back in another Q50. This is a 2020 Infiniti Q50 Red Sport 400. It comes with the VR30 Double D Double T 3.0 twin turbo V6 engine that produces 400 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission. So I'm sure you're asking yourself, Henry, you learned before that BMW was a better build. It is the ultimate driving machine, and I do not take that away from that brand. However, when I considered once again your BMWs, your Lexus, your Acuras, even your Audis, what it came back to this time, like the last time, was value. At 400 horsepower, those other brands charge way more. Right now, when I got this vehicle loaded up the way that it is, it cost me $60,000. However, Infiniti was cutting better, bigger deals than the competing brands. So I was able to get a $60,000 car for about $45,000. Now you can't be mad at that. It brought all the power. It gave me the Bose sound system. We have Apple CarPlay, full leather interior, heated seats, heated steering wheel, and above all else, a much more improved fit and finish to the interior. Now for this car on this lease under $500 a month, I will take that deal.
To this day!
So you have your options between a Silver Sport or a Red Sport. Now, while they both share the same exact engine, one is more capable than the other. The Silver Sport delivers 300 horsepower and about 250 pound-feet of torque in comparison to the Red Sport, that's 400 on 350. The difference in power is just overall tuning. The turbos on the Red Sport are allowed to produce more power across the band than the Silver Sport. That's how, if you were to race these two cars neck and neck, the Red Sport will always edge out the Silver Sport. Now, if you're considering these vehicles, the differences come to, well, what is the application that you intend to give it? If you are trying to potentially own this car and you are in the world of modifying, so we're talking about upgrading engines, ECU tags, you could potentially change the muffler, do something like a catback exhaust, muffler delete, what have you, then odds are you're probably most suited to get the Silver Sport. Now, the reason you could get the Silver Sport is that with just some very minor upgrades, you can take that 300 horsepower engine on 250 and boost it up to 400 or even 500 at a relatively low cost with something like a JB4, a plug-and-play override to how the boost is controlled in the vehicle. Or if you're not into really modifying the engine components of the vehicle, especially if it's a lease, and maybe you want to do things like tint the windows, rims, what have you, and you still want that power, but you have no intentions on really modifying that part, well, then go with a Red Sport. Now, the interior is identical to what it's been since the car came out. The difference is that the fit and finish has certainly improved. Nothing jitters the same way. When you touch the dash, when you touch the buttons, they actually hold stiff and you don't feel like you're driving a less quality vehicle. One of the great things that they've done, although rather late to the market, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There are a lot of reviewers out there that say this is the best that Infiniti could put out. Isn't exactly sporty, and I'm not necessarily arguing with that concept. Does it maneuver the corners the same way like other cars like Audis and your BMWs do? No. Can it go in a straight line and keep pace with a lot of them, depending on the version? Absolutely. Am I tracking this car every day? I am not. I am a dad of 3 kids with a corporate job. I drive on the highway from time to time, but it does give me a thrill. It gives me a thrill when I'm going on and off the ramp. It does give me a thrill when that light turns green. I'm not necessarily trying to go and start dragging a bunch of people out there. Now, why is this Q50 a sleeper? Well, unless you notice the Red S, there isn't a lot that help you distinguish it from the base model, except when you hit the gas and you are off the line. There are some other packages that you can add to the vehicle, such as a carbon fiber package that you can get on the Silver Sport. The issues that people describe with this car is the fact that while it has all of this power, it always feels like that's all it wants to do. It wants to give you all 400 horsepower all the time, and in that sense, Infiniti may have overstepped it. It should be able to control that power as I needed to, and at the same time, whenever I hit that gas, deliver it right away. As far as where Infiniti is going with this car, they've eliminated the Q70. They're focusing all their attention on the 2022 QX60, which is going to effectively be a make or break vehicle for the brand. There are a lot of things that they could do better. While yes, we got Apple CarPlay, it is the kind that you have to plug in. I know, first world problems, but brands like BMW and Audi, they already have it wireless. Heads-up displays, which are offered commonly, wireless charging are a common thing, ventilated seats. Would love some of that. Infiniti just isn't providing that right now in this vehicle. Now, Infiniti, for its missteps, they are so capable of doing much more, and for whatever reason, they're holding back. Maybe it's challenges with sales, maybe it's just not understanding where they are in the market, or maybe it's the parent company of Nissan saying, we're not sure which way we want you to go with this, or we want to go with this yet. But they have given us examples that they are fully capable of providing the consumer with way more than what we see today. A good example is the old Q50 Eau Rouge, or the Infiniti Eau Rouge, which was a Q50 body that was modified and stuffed with a GTR engine. The only missing piece was that it couldn't take the transmission because the bay just wasn't big enough for it. Then Infiniti actually teased out the Project Black S prototype. Still the same VR30 engine with the twin turbo V6 that produced 400 horsepower, but it also had a mild hybrid attached to it. and that mild hybrid produced 560 horsepower. That is a car that competes. But for whatever reason, Nissan and Infiniti decided that they are not going to produce this vehicle, or we haven't gotten any news that this vehicle is going to be produced. In my humble opinion, I believe that the tech and approach that they were potentially going to take with the Project Black, they've pushed all of that into the 400Z. The same power plant they get in the Q60 and Q50, specifically the Red Sports model. Whichever way they go, at least for right now, I have my Q50 Red Sport. I do like this car. I do feel that it was a proper purchase for me. There will be more videos talking about my experience, especially with the modifications that I may or may not do. We'll see what comes from it. I do have a few things in mind. And with that said, until next time, with Flat 6 Media, this is Henry. See you later.